Hello and welcome to the new season of Back Nine Report, along with our good friend Mike May, joining us from sunny Florida. Mike, Happy New Year. We're looking forward to another great year of golf.
Happy New Year. Can't wait for it to get started. Well, we started this past weekend out in Hawaii, but things will really start ramping up in other tours soon.
Yeah, I actually watched some golf this weekend. I always like to watch the pictures of Kapalua and Hawaii and shooting out across the water there over to Molokai. I guess it's 9 miles from the golf course over to Molokai, so it'd be a pretty big swim. You probably wouldn't want to swim that probably, but it looks beautiful.
When you're in Michigan in the middle of January, anything with sunshine looks beautiful.
That's why those golf tournaments do well.
Yes.
Yeah, the people in the Northeast, they're watching that stuff. They're wishing they were there. Hey, Mike. Speaking of that, let's talk just a couple minutes here. We've still got the LIV and PGA Tour merger thing going on. A little bit more keeps coming out all the time. The end of the year deadline passed for a deal with the LIV. We've got the LIV still rating players. They just picked up John Rahm. They're talking about a couple others that may even still go over there yet. Um, Here we are at the start of 2024, and 2023 saw a tremendous upheaval on the PGA Tour with guys leaving. The PGA Tour tried to up the purses, come up with more money to keep guys there, coming up with all kind of tricks and stuff to pass more money down. But still, guys are not happy. And I guess if they come bearing a pocket full of $300 million, it kind of gets your attention. If you're John Rahm, right? You've got to go. But right now, Mike, the LIV has garnered some really big talent, and it makes it hard to watch regular PGA Tour events because a lot of these big names aren't there, like Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Bryson DeChambeau, Sergio, Bubba, Phil Mickelson, just to name a few. So it appears to me that the LIV is kind of winning the battle right at the moment, with a ton of these major champions already on the excuse me, already on the LIV tour. Uh, do you see any way that the PGA Tour can turn this thing around, or what do you think? Give me a brief idea of what you're thinking.
Well, I think that we've all been in a state of uh, the waiting game since June when the first announcement came out. Of course, now we're well past that December 31st deadline. And when you sit down and think about big names in golf, especially from the US, it's difficult not to think of more LIV players than PGA Tour players. The I'm not so sure throwing more money at the players is actually sort of created a two-tier system, sort of the haves and the have-nots. Um, the These are uncharted waters that I never imagined we'd be in golf, and I think everyone probably feels the same way. It's almost day to day, but LIV is definitely winning the PR battle. It's definitely winning the big name battle, and from the point of view of having to play less events, LIV's winning as well. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Ryder Cup, which will be next year, 2025, in Long Island. How's the status quo now going to impact who's going to play and who's not going to play?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always issues all around that. And I just read a thing today, that one of the sticking points was that when Monahan sent his proposal to Al Ramayan, that Greg Norman was supposed to be let go, and Ramayan took that clause out, and so that's been a real sticking point. And it's been surmised that maybe Greg would end up running the whole thing because he's been successful now of bringing this LIV to fruition. And why? And they got the upper hand. They got the money, so they're not going to yield to what Monahan wants, even though it says he's going to be the chief honcho. They can get rid of him in a heartbeat. They don't care if they got a BIOS contract. They got more money than God anyhow. So that doesn't matter. And I just worry, Mike. I just keep worrying that all this too much money is just going to kill golf. I know personally, I just have I can't watch golf, and it just sickens me, all this money that they're talking and what they're trying to do to golf. So they got to get something figured out here and get it figured out quick. because this is just ruining professional golf for me.
And there's an issue that we've talked about, offline with the fact that golf says that the biggest winners in the PGA Tour are charities, that is a fairly accurate statement. And if they have to take money out of that, then you're going to lose your volunteers. And if you lose your volunteers, then you're going to be a tough situation because there's the need for volunteers is tremendous every week at every event. And for years, decades, the volunteers have been coming out because they see as if it's golf Super Bowl coming to their community. It comes once a year, whether it's Dublin, Ohio, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Miami, or Chicago, or Dallas, or wherever. And those volunteers are the lifeblood of the event, and you need them. And of course, many volunteers do pay to be a member of the volunteer group, and knowing that a lot of that money covers the cost of their uniforms, and also some goes to charities. So we're in uncharted waters, and PGA Tour needs to be very aware of what decisions they make going forward because the stakes are high.
So kind of continuing on that theme a little bit, TV ratings are suffering a little bit for golf. They're down about 20 to 30% for the year. I just read a report from Steve Pike the other day that the Masters was the most watched golf event of 2023, which the Masters normally has the biggest audience. A total of 13 million watched it. It came in at number 58 in the top 100 sports shows last year on network television, which is not bad because the NFL takes the first 50 spots. Okay, so the NFL control is they're big on television networks, but number 58, I mean that's pretty strong really for the Masters. But I think the numbers across the board were down. So I see that continuing, Mike. I just don't see as these guys leave and go to LIV, nobody's watching that thing. They're on CW network or whatever, right? So nobody's watching that. And now these players that the guys wanted to see, Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and these guys, they're not on the PGA Tour, so they're not watching the PGA Tour. So numbers are going down, but these guys, the sponsors, are paying big money for this, okay? So the PGA Tour is in a real conundrum here, and they've got to take care of their product. They got to get their product so it's sellable for TV.
Well said. I can't add much more than that. Again, historically, PGA Tour numbers have been low, but they've lacked quantity, they've had quality. And again, I think that for your top event to be number 58 in the ratings, admittedly, NFL football and to an extent when you get to the postseason for baseball and basketball, they take up the lion's share. But if your top four golf tournaments are maybe barely cracking the top 100, you're not exactly breaking records on audience. And of course, one thing that adds to pro golf tournaments, especially the PGA Tour, is when you have a big crowd on site, that adds the excitement of watching because you feel as if you're part of that crowd. And I'm not sure how the numbers on site have been impacted by the LIV PGA Tour issue, or local people still going out to watch.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to find some attendance numbers if we can figure that out for future shows. So continuing on, the PGA Tour started their season last week out in Hawaii with the Sentry Championship. And Kapalua, it's always interesting to watch. That thing is so hilly. And the players, when there's no wind, which there was very little wind last week, there was no rain. The golf course was firm. The ball was rolling forever. I don't know if you got to watch any of it, but I loved when they had the drone following the ball on the ground and it would just roll and roll and roll forever because there was such steep downhill rolls there. They're hitting drives 400 yards and all this kind of thing. 660-yard par 5, and they're hitting 5 irons into it, right? So it's absolutely amazing. It's fun to watch. But one of the things I did like, I loved Kevin Kisner is one of my favorite players of all time. Anyhow, I love watching him. I like his personality. I like his sense of humor. And he was great on television. He's going to be able to step right into the booth when he ever decides to retire from playing. He is playing in the Sony this week because that's a short course, and he could do very well there. He's got to pick and choose where he plays now because he's just not as long as some of the other guys that do so well now. But I couldn't believe all the Georgia guys at the top of the leaderboard. Of course, Kisner is from Georgia as well, and so he knows all these guys. Chris Kirk won. Brendan Todd was in the mix. Brian Harmon, the Open Championship winner, finished strong. Sepp Straka had an excellent week, and so it gave Kiz a lot to talk about, and he was great to listen to. The 5-iron that Chris Kirk hit on 17 to 2.5 feet to take the lead for good on Sunday was absolutely beautiful. Probably one of the best shots you will see all year long. He hit a beautiful 5-iron in there with a little draw, landed a perfect spot, rolled right up by the hole. I mean, it was in play for a double eagle. I mean, it was just a heck of a shot. Sahith Theegala, we keep talking about him a little bit more. We see his name coming up on leaderboards. Fired 10 under 63 on Sunday. Had to wait for Kirk to finish. Ended up one shot short. He was fun to watch. He does not hold back, Mike. He's swinging full bore all the time. It gets him in trouble sometimes, but that's his game. That's the way he plays. Fun to watch. Jordan Spieth played well, but had a couple bad breaks. He caught a bad break off a drive. It hit into the top of a bunker and buried. He had no shot. He ends up making double bogey, kicked him right out. He was just a shot off the lead at the time and kicked him down the leaderboard. Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Scotty Scheffler, Jason Day, Tyra Hatton, and Benny Hahn. They were all in the mix. Benny Hahn finished up 4th, Sungjae Im 5th. Im fired his own 10 under 63, and so they were all in the mix. But Scotty Scheffler still has putting issues. My goodness, as well as that guy strikes the ball, if he could putt, if he could improve his putting by 25%, he'd never lose. I mean, it's just unbelievable the putts that he misses. And if he would just make half of those, he would win without question. But I kind of enjoyed watching Sentry this year, Mike. And what the players that we do like were there, the Spieths, the Schauffele's, the Schefflers, these guys were there and playing, and these are the guys that have to carry the ball on the PGA Tour right now.
I get I had similar thoughts. I wonder if there was maybe some discussion amongst these players, like, guys, we need to show up in Hawaii and be there for 2 weeks. Our product is suffering. We know we're the biggest names on tour, and not that there won't be other big names to follow, but it's good for the PGA Tour to have its big names out there from the get-go, so they can start the season a strong way. Because historically, many great names wouldn't show up until maybe the LA Open or Farmers Insurance down in San Diego. And this year, they're showed up a little different. Maybe they're hungry for golf because they didn't have as long of a season as they have in the past because of that wraparound situation. So good for the PGA Tour. The cream has risen to the top. And again, most of the audience in this country was covered in snow or ice or bad weather. And it's like a 3-hour commercial on Hawaii.
Well, one of the reasons there were so many of the top guys there that showed up, and you're right. I used to complain about the way the PGA Tour started their season in Hawaii. I used to just rip on them because Tiger and Phil and these guys would not go over there in January. They're taking their time off in January and not start playing until they're either going to start in the Middle East or they're going to start in California. And so I used to rip on them. Well, the Sentry took this over, so it's now become a designated event. So it's a $10 million purse. So Chris Kirk got $3.6 million for the win there. Plus, he gets 700 FedEx Cup. He's set up for the rest of the year. He's good. He's going to be in the top 30 pretty much at the Tour Championship probably. If he just has any kind of year at all, he's going to be good to go for the year. He's going to make $8 to $10 million this year. He's set up. So the reason they're there is because it's a big money event. And plus, it's Hawaii, so these guys went over and started their year. But you're right, and they had to do something to entice these guys to get over there. And that's it. If you pay them money, they will show, right? Mike, let's talk about a little bit about the LPGA. You're the LPGA expert. Where are we starting the season? What are you looking for? What are you excited about for 2024?
Well, we start again next week in Lake Nona in Orlando. I've heard some different things about the weather, so it may be, even though it's Florida, it's
snowing every day up here in Cadillac for like the next week. Okay, so we're supposed to get 5 inches today, and it's supposed to snow every day. So this is pretty much typical January. So it's got to be better than up here, Mike.
Yes, there'll be no snow. The grass will be green, and we might have a couple layers on, but it'll definitely be playable. We had a record number of first-time winners on the tour last year, as well as quite a few well-known players. It's going to be a Solheim Cup year again, where the U.S. and Europe tied. That's a big enticement as we move along to make that Solheim Cup team. Number of, again, first-time winners: Megan Kang, Lynn Grant, Alexa Pano, among others. I think the confidence those girls get from getting one win will lead to another. And then you've got established stars: Danielle Kang, Lexi Thompson, who's not won since 2019 on tour at ShopRite, but she has had a good, strong finish to the year. Did not make the top 60, was just outside the top 60, and had a tremendous Solheim Cup. So I expect big things from Lexi. She's not the only big name out there they're talking about, and I think that takes the pressure off her. Again, we have such a strong contingent of players from Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Sweden, of course, the U.S., Brooke Hendricks from Canada, Gabby Lopez and Maria Fassi from Mexico. It is girls from South Africa, Ashley Buhai. So wherever you look, there's someone who can win, and literally every week on the LPGA Tour, anybody can win. It's just a matter of who's confident, who's making putts, because they're all striking the ball well, they all chip the ball well, and they all hit the ball very similar distances. Though we do have some girls who can hit it over 300. So you want to see some big hitters, come to the LPGA Tour.
Yeah, my couple things. One, the LPGA is definitely an international tour. When Mike Wan took over back in 2010, that was a knock against the LPGA. Too many, foreign people winning, too many foreign women winning on the LPGA Tour. Well, they turned that around to a positive. We're an international tour. We welcome the best players. We have the best players from around the world here. We travel to these places. We show up. So he turned that into a positive. That's really a good thing. And the second thing, Mike, is you talk about the women players. They are pretty much all technically sound, okay? And I tell everybody, listen, if you want to learn how to play golf, don't watch the men, because they do stuff their own way. They develop bad habits, but that works for them, and they've done it for so long that's what they're comfortable doing. Watch the ladies. They are taught from a young age, and they will listen to the coaches, and they are technically very sound, pretty much every player. If you want to learn how to play golf, you want to improve your swing, watch the LPGA Tour, Mike. They're good to watch. Mike, something coming up here in a week or so that kind of looking forward to is the PGA Golf Show, the annual show that's held in Orlando every year. Over 40,000 people attend, over 1,000 vendors. You'll have probably 700-800 media types there like us. We get to see all of our old friends and people that we deal with, and plus check out all the new equipment, apparel, and golf paraphernalia that we're going to be looking at next year. It's always a joy to be down there. I think you're going to be working, so you're not going to be around, but anything you want me to check out the show for you?
I'm continuing to be amazed by the large number of apparel companies out there. They're all good, and I would not want to be a buyer for a pro shop, because how do you make a decision between all the established brands and new brands that are out there, high quality, and these new apparel shirts, they don't shrink, they don't fade, they last forever. So the apparel business is always very competitive. And again, how many different ways can you make a driver better than it is right now? Somehow they do, or at least in the marketing lingo. So it's very entertaining, it's refreshing, it's a new beginning. It's always in January, and it's a new birthplace for golf, and it's what drives the purchasing of balls and gear and bags and everything you can imagine that's related to golf.
Mike, I want to mention before we sign off, we distributed American Golf Journal this year. That was a first, the inaugural edition, inaugural issue. Went out earlier this month. You can find it just by going to AmericanGolfJournal.com. We have some great articles in there you may want to check out. It will be a quarterly magazine this year, Mike. So you will have the next one will come out in April, and then July, and then October. So we're looking for good stuff from that. And then in addition, we still have Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan golf journals out every month. And you can just go to IndianaGolfJournal.com or OhioGolfJournal.com or MichiganGolfJournal.com and view those. This month in January, we're talking about the golf shows that are around the country. This is golf show season up here. It's snowing and you can't play, but you can go to golf shows and pick up good deals for the coming season. So, Mike, anything else you want to talk about before we close out here today?
No, I think we've said it all. We'll just the one part of the golf we didn't talk about was the Champions Tour. That's going to be exciting again. Will Bernhard Langer continue to win? That's the big question.
Steve Stricker's going to win it all.
One of those Wisconsin. I would not be surprised. That's a very safe bet. No, it's golf is for the most part in fairly good shape. It's just those top two professional circles on this side are causing some consternation and confusion. But the game is alive and well, and people are enjoying playing and looking forward to a great spring, summer, and fall.
Golfaholics, we hope you enjoy your 2024 golf season coming up. I'm heading down to Florida. I'm going to play a little golf with Mike and some other people down there, playing a little Golf Writer Association tournament and some other stuff. So checking out some new resorts and new courses down there. Really looking forward to it. Mike, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir. Travel safely.